Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda. Jai Shri Radhe Govinda, Jai Shri Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Jai Shri Gaura Nitai, Jai Srila Prabhupada, 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 Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Welcome to Understand Gita in 18 Days by ISKCON Mangalore. Thank you for coming. Let's start chapter 11 summary. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा गदामह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। हे कृष्णा कर्ण सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते। तप्तकांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री विसादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So chapter 11 today, as is the custom. So chapter 7, what is the name of chapter 7? Chapter 7, what is the name? Yes?
Knowledge of the
Brahma.
What?
Akshar Brahma. Akshara Brahma.
knowledge of the Absolute.
Jnana Vijnana Yoga, knowledge of the Absolute, correct. What is the name of chapter 8?
Akshar Brahma Yoga.
Akshar Brahma Yoga.
Attaining the Supreme.
Attaining the Supreme. Chapter 9?
Rajavidya Rajagugya.
Very, very nice.
Knowledge.
Very nice. Only 2 people are talking? Everyone else can't talk?
Rajavidya Rajagugya.
Okay, what is the name of chapter 10?
10 Vibhuti Yoga.
The opulence of the Absolute.
Chapter 11 is Universal
Is
Power.
Vishwarupa Darshana.
Thank you very much. Okay, how many vibhutis or opulences are described in chapter 10? You can write to me in the chat or you can raise your hand. How many opulences of Krishna are described in chapter 10? Yesterday that Rupa Mataji took the chapter. How many vibhutis or how many opulences are described? Yes. Already we have an unanswered question from chapter 3 to chapter 5. Hey Krishna, yes, that might be.
24.
No. Thank you for trying. Thank you. So in chapter 10, how many opulences of Krishna are described? Somebody is writing 26, which is not correct. Okay. Somebody is writing beauty, fame, renunciation. That's no. That's a definition of Bhagwan. But opulences of Krishna in chapter with 12, wrong. You are guessing now. No, not correct. So that's another question then. Okay, what are the 8 questions that Arjuna asked Krishna in chapter 8? Without looking in your notebooks or Bhagavad Gita, someone can answer. What are the 8 questions that Arjuna is asking to Krishna in chapter 8? Yes, you can raise your hand or write to me in the chat. It's a big chapter today, so I will get started then. 8 questions asked by Arjun to Krishna in chapter 8. Nobody? Am I audible?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Thank you, Kartik Prabhu. So, okay, Nimisha Mataji, what is Brahman? That's one. What is Brahman and what is self is the same thing, the same question. What is Brahman and what is self is same question. Okay, so by the end of the class, if someone can answer, that will be nice too. So this chapter name is Vishwa Sandarshan Yog, or the universal form. Let's pay obeisances to Shri Radha Govinda before we start. This is what was discussed yesterday. Krishna is unknowable and source of all. So Krishna tells Arjun that actually no one knows me in truth. So because Krishna is called Prapitamaha. Pitamaha is the name for Brahma, which means grandfather. Prapitamaha means the grandfather of the grandfather, which is Krishna. So Krishna is the original person. So because he is original, no one knows him. So that's why he has to speak about himself. And then pure bhakti, the essence of Bhagavad Gita, the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita from 8, 9, 10, 11. The whole essence of Bhagavad Gita is described in these 3 verses. Sambandha Gyan, Abhidey Gyan, and Prayojan Gyan. Then Arjun accepts Krishna's supreme position after he hears the glories of Krishna. He offers prayers to Krishna and requests him to describe his more opulences, so that he can remember Krishna more accurately. Like it will help Arjun to remember Krishna, because Arjun will see, let's say if he sees the sun, or we see the sun, he don't see the sun, but we actually remember Krishna by looking at that object, or by that, or if something is very glorious in this world, we remember Krishna as being the cause of behind that very big thing in this material world. So Krishna describes 82 opulences in chapter 10. Okay, this is chapter 11. Arjun requests Krishna to show his universal form, and Krishna describes his universal form, then gives him the vision to see the universal form, and Arjun sees the universal form, and then Arjun's experience of the universal form, and then he asks Krishna one question: who are you? So Krishna replies that I am the time, Kalo Asmi. Then Arjun prays again. Every time he goes into ecstasy, he starts praying. That's what a pure devotee does. And then he requests Krishna to wrap up the universal form and show his 400 form, and then the 200 form. This is the first verse. Arjun Uvacha Mad Anugraya Paramam Guhyam Adhyatma Samhitam Yatva Yuktam Vachastena Moho Ayam Vigato Mama. Arjun said, I have heard your instructions on confidential spiritual matters, which you have so kindly delivered unto me, and my illusion is now dispelled. So Moho Ayam Vigato Mama means that my illusion is now dispelled, is over. So what illusion of Arjun is dispelled? After hearing about Krishna's glories, Krishna as being the source of all, Krishna as being the original person, Krishna as being the supreme personality of Godhead. Basically, Arjun already accepted Krishna, right, as the supreme personality of Godhead when he offered the prayer, the 10.12 and 13, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavam. So over there, it is clear that Arjun has already accepted Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. And here he reinforces by saying, my illusion is not dispelled. So what illusion is dispelled? What illusion is dispelled? The illusion that's mentioned here, he's mentioning here, is now dispelled, is that he has stopped accepting that Krishna is an ordinary human being. Krishna is not ordinary. Even though he may look like a human being, but he's not ordinary. Just remember this, please, that in the opening of the chapter, Arjun says that my illusion is not dispelled. O lotus-eyed one, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity, as realized through your inexhaustible glories. Correct? So you said that Krishna says, I'm the beginning, I'm the middle, I'm the end. Everything emanates, everything that is spiritual, everything that is material emanates from me. This he said even in chapter 7, chapter 9, chapter 10. And again, Arjun is reinforcing that I heard. Actually, I heard what he said. O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see here before me your actual position, I yet wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. So one of the questions that Arjun asked to Krishna in 8th chapter was, what is Adi Deva, right? Or the Lord Adi Deva, or the universal form of Krishna, or how does all this cosmic manifestation reside in the body of Krishna? So he wants to see that form in which all the things in this cosmic manifestation are actually resting in the body of Krishna. Cosmic manifestation means that which has come into being, which means that it is temporary, because something that has come into being is also going to become unmanifested as the time goes on, right? That's true for everything around us. It's true for our own body. Our body, according to the scriptures, goes through 6 changes called Shadvikar. It takes birth, then it stays for some time, and then it takes birth, it grows, and it stays for some time, produces byproducts, dwindles, and then disappears. These are the 6 changes that every body goes through, not just human body. Every material body goes through. So that means it came into manifestation, and then after some time, it will become unmanifested again. So that is the meaning of the word cosmic manifestation. This material world is not permanent. It comes into being, stays for some time, shows its changes, shows its products, then everything over here becomes weak gradually, and then it disappears. But Krishna is saying that everything is resting on him. So Arjun is now requesting, I wish to see that how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. And that form in which Krishna will reveal, through which everything is resting in Krishna, is called universal form or Adidev. If you think that I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that universal self. So this is a very nice way of putting a request, that if you think, I am putting a request to you, Krishna, but ultimately you are the one who will make the final decision. Because if you think that I can hold this cosmic form, then you show me the universal self. Which in other words also means that if you don't think that I can behold it, then it's okay, you don't show me. Okay, so you have to be ready whether Krishna fulfills the desire or Krishna does not fulfill the desire. It's both ways, it's good. If Krishna did not fulfill the desire, it really meant that we really didn't need it. Krishna fulfilled the desire, it means that it enhances us to go back to Krishna. Okay, so now the question that comes here is that if he's already said that my illusion is now dispelled, then what makes Arjun to request Krishna again to see the universal form? Okay, one question. Universal form is permanent or temporary? Is it permanent form or is it temporary form? Like Bhagwan feature or Krishna's form, which is shown here, is permanent, right? So after whatever I have said, what is your understanding? Is the universal form of Krishna permanent or temporary? What is it?
Permanent.
Permanent.
अच्छा दीपक का कॉल आया कॉल करता हूँ
Yes, temporary.
Adi Deva form is permanent or temporary? Something. Okay, why don't we take a vote? Whoever says that it is permanent, you can raise your hand. This is whoever says that the universal form or cosmic form in which the cosmic manifestation is manifested is permanent form. Please raise your hand. 3, 4. Just 4. You can write to me in the chat. I don't know if only 4 people or 5 people are saying, but Okay, you can lower your hands. Thank you. So who feels that, or who understands that this form is not permanent? You can raise your hands. Or in other words, it's temporary. You can't give me two answers. You have to be either one, or choose one. Okay, so who thinks that this is not permanent but is temporary? Vijaya Mataji, you already raised your hand. I noted your name, so you can't give me two. Okay, so Mataji, what makes you feel that that this is temporary? The universal form of Krishna is temporary. You can unmute yourself. Yeah, go ahead, Mataji. You are okay. Not audible. Thank you very much. You can raise your hand. You can lower your hands. So the majority of the class thinks that this is temporary, and which is correct answer. There is no form as such. Okay, universal form is not a form. It's a concept. For example, now in this chapter, we are going to see what is there in universal form. And in Bhagavatam, also universal form is described in Canto 2. Where in both places, the basic foundation is the same. That if you see the big mountains, then you compare them to the bones of the body of Krishna, universal form of Krishna. If you see the herbs and shrubs and big trees, then you compare them as hair on the body of Krishna. Or if you see the sun and the moon, then they are compared to the eyes of the universal form of Krishna. So basically, it's not a form; it's a concept that how everything in this world is actually resting in Krishna. Okay, and Prabhupada says in his lecture that in BD form of Krishna, or original feature of Krishna that we worship in the temple, it is very easy to relate to that form because we can dress, stitch clothes for Krishna. We can offer something to eat to Krishna. We can offer worship to Krishna. For universal form, like how are you going to offer him any dress? Because any amount of fabric is going to fall short. There's no measurement. It's unlimited and ever expanding because that's how the universe is. So there's no form as such. It's a concept. Okay. So how Krishna has entered into the cosmic manifestation. So he goes on, the blessed Lord said, my dear Arjun, O son of Pritha, behold now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of varied divine forms, multicolored like the sea. So Krishna is describing to Arjun what is he going to see after some time. So basically, Krishna has agreed to Arjun's request to reveal the universal form. And he's saying, this is what you're going to see. Whatever you wish to see can be seen all at once in this body. This universal form can show you all that you now desire, as well as whatever you may desire in the future. Everything is here completely. But you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore, I give you divine eyes by which you can behold my mystic opulence. So Krishna gives him the divine eyes so that he can see how everything is resting in Krishna at one place. Every single thing of the whole world around us, not spiritual. It's not spiritual. Then Sanjay is also able to hear this conversation, and Sanjay will also be able to see the universal form by the mercy of his spiritual master Vyasdev. So Sanjay tells it to Dhritarashtra. Sanjay Vacha Evam Yukta Tato Rajan Mahayogeshwaro Hari Darshayamsha Parthaya Paramam Rupam Ashwaram. Sanjay said, O king, speaking thus, the Supreme, the Lord of all mystic power, the personality of Godhead, displayed his universal form to Arjun. So he's Krishna first described and then he displayed. And as soon as Dhritarashtra heard that he displayed, Sanjay is sitting so calm and composed, and Dhritarashtra is like now bewildered. That, oh, Krishna is showing universal form, it means that there's going to be devastation. Arjun saw in that universal form unlimited mouths and unlimited eyes. There is no number. It was all wondrous. The form was decorated with divine dazzling ornaments and arrayed in many garbs. He was garlanded gloriously, and there were many scents smeared over his body. All was magnificent, all expanding, unlimited. This was seen by Arjun. If hundreds of thousands of suns rose up at once into the sky, they might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. So that universal form was unlimited, ever expanding, unlimited mouth, unlimited eyes, very dazzling. We cannot see, if you raise your eyes and try to see the sun, it's so difficult to see. It kind of looks dark, right? Do you have that experience that you try to see the sun with the naked eyes? You really can't like focus. Do you have that experience?
Yes, Mataji.
No, madam.
So try to see the sun. Don't do it for a long time. It's not good for the eyes, but try to see it for experimentation. You won't be able to focus, especially while driving, and then there's a sunset in the evening. So if the radiations are coming, I have seen many times that the traffic slows down because the sun is setting and there's so much of effulgence of the sun everywhere, so people can't focus when they're driving because of the light it comes. So that's one sun. Over here, he's saying hundreds of thousands of suns rose up at once into the sky. They might resemble the effulgence of Supreme Person in that universal form. So Krishna's universal form is so full of light. At that time, Arjun could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of universe expanded in one place, also divided into many, many thousands. So the universe is everything is on its own place, right? Earth is rotating in a specific part of the sky. Then there are other planets. Sun is there, Moon is there, Mars is there, Jupiter is there, Saturn is there, right? People who study that Jyotir Shastra, astrological thing, they study very intricately these planets. Where are they? Where will they go? How will it influence? What they'll influence? Very, very, but they are studying a very small thing. Krishna consciousness is much beyond that. Anyhow, so everything is I am here, I'm not, or you are there wherever you are. So everything appears to be on its own place, scattered everywhere, right? But in the universal form, everything that's scattered is put together and has brought in completely like in one place. Even the best of the best scientist or astronomer cannot do this. Can they do this? Can they bring all the planets together in one place? In school, they teach children how to make solar system, but can they show everything, every nook and corner of the universe and bring it in one place?
No.
So no, right? So this is the power of Krishna consciousness. This is Krishna. So Krishna, no one else can do it. Actually, other than Krishna, Ekala Ishwar Krishna, Arau Bhrita. Only Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna. Everyone else is separated. Okay, everyone else is not supreme. Anybody and everybody else is not supreme because they can't show this. So there was this question which I asked in the beginning, that what makes Arjun ask Krishna to show this universal form again? If he said that the illusion is not dispelled, his illusion is dispelled. So one of the reasons explained by Srila Prabhupada is that he wanted to set a criteria for future, that in case somebody says that I'm God, then if they say I'm God, then you have to show this universal form. Ask them to show the universal form and then check whatever is written here is what is shown in the universal form. If they are not able to show the universal form, then they must be rejected as God. Don't be sentimental. My spiritual master last week was giving class. He was describing the difference between moha and sneha. Moha is illusion and sneha is affection. So there's a difference between moha and sneha. So don't be like in moha, or don't be in illusion or sentiment. There's no need, because Krishna consciousness is full of compassion for the living entities, but at the same time, we don't degrade ourselves with that compassion or make wrong choices. We don't accept any Tom, Dick, or Harry as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is a test, a litmus test. Somebody says, I'm God, tell them, show your universal form. If they can't, then they're not God. Move on. That's called resilience, right? There's so much of discussion about resilience in the whole world, and they are not able to read the Shastras where there is so much of resilience taught. And yesterday I was reading, NASA is launching a $2 billion project to find out the origin of the universe. So they are saying that we want to do this. The origin, they want to find out the origin of the universe, and the estimated cost of the research is $2 billion. And I was like, oh my Krishna. Open 5th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. Everything is there where it originated from. But Maya Avrita Jnana, we won't surrender because the real knowledge is stolen by Maya. Then, bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjun began to pray with folded hands, offering obeisances to the Supreme Lord. So far, like Arjun saw, right? Arjun saw vision of the universal form. He saw so many mouths, so many eyes, ever expanding, unlimited, so dazzling and so effulgent. And now Arjun is bewildered and astonished. People think that Krishna consciousness has no feelings, right? The person becomes feelingless. This is one of the myths that people don't come to spirituality because then they will have to become very hard-hearted. This, at least I have heard of it, or I have experienced this as a blocker. Have you? Can you relate to it?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, ma'am.
And no, don't go to Krishna
ma'am.
because you're going to become like detached. When they say detached, it's actually hidden meaning of the word detached is that you won't show your feelings towards us anymore. But that's not correct. That's not correct. Arjun is very self-aware. He's bewildered and astonished. Vyasadev is writing this. Hair standing on the end. So he knows, Vyasadev is writing and seeing that he knows that what Arjun is going through. And if we know what we are going through, we can actually take a right path. One of the reasons why somebody takes a wrong or makes a wrong decision in their life is because they are not connected to their own feelings. Here Arjun is connected, and he knows he's not bewildered, he doesn't know what to do, so the only thing what he knows he can do is offer prayers. He's going to do that now. Arjun said, "My dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled together in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and many sages and divine serpents." So he's describing the demigods, he's describing Brahma, Lord Shiva, he's describing these divine serpents, he's describing all the demigods and other living entities. Everything is resting in the body of Krishna, universal form of Krishna, in the material world. There's nothing spiritual here. O Lord of the universe, I see in your universal body many, many forms, bellies, mouths, eyes expanded without limit. There is no end, there is no beginning, and there is no middle to all this. Have you ever experienced something which has no beginning, no end, and no middle? I haven't. I have just read, but have you? There is no beginning, there is no middle, there is no end. Experience,
No,
hearing,
Mataji.
experience.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. No,
What is it?
Mataji.
What did you
Sky,
experience?
sky.
Yes.
Ah, the sky. Okay, that's a nice one. Okay, thank you. That's very thoughtful. Yeah, we can say that, the sky. Thank you. So no beginning, no end, and no middle. Your form, adorned with various crowns, clubs, and discs, is difficult to see because of its glaring effulgence, which is fiery and immeasurable like the sun. You see, I was saying that if you look directly in the sun, it becomes difficult to see the sun. So like that, because of so much effulgence, he actually can't see clearly what's there. But whatever he can see, he's telling us. You are the supreme primal objective. You are the best in all the universes. You are inexhaustible and you're the oldest. You are the maintainer of religion, the eternal personality of Godhead. Arjun keeps repeating the same thing because he's in ecstasy now. And when somebody is in ecstasy, they keep repeating the same thing. So he says, "Oh Krishna," because he's bewildered and astonished also. You are the origin without beginning, middle, or end. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are among your great unlimited eyes. By your own radiance, you are heating this entire universe. Although you are one, you are spread throughout the sky and the planet and all space between. O great one, as I behold this terrible form, I see that all planetary systems are perplexed. So you see, this form of Krishna, universal form of Krishna, is not very attractive to a Vaishnava. It's not very attractive to a devotee of Krishna, because a devotee of Krishna is looking for a relationship with Krishna. But with the universal form, you can only have a relationship of wonder or bewilderment or astonishment. You can't have a serving. You can't serve the universal form, feed Krishna or dress Krishna, or make a garland for Krishna in the universal form. So that form, that's why Arjun says this, terrible, and the very fact that other planetary systems are perplexed, it means that other demigods were also in other planetary systems were also able to see Krishna's universal form by Krishna's mercy. It was not just Arjun. So all the demigods are surrendering into and entering into you. They're very much afraid, and with folded hands, they're singing the Vedic hymns. Right? So they're also afraid. So they're all praying to Krishna. O mighty armed one, all the planets with their demigods are disturbed at seeing your many faces, arms, bellies, and legs, and your terrible teeth. And as they are disturbed, so am I. So he's reinforcing. He already said that this form is terrible and this form is very disturbing, not only to me, but all the other residents of other planetary systems. No one else on the battlefield could see the form other than Krishna, other than Arjun, sorry. Sanjay could see because of mercy of Vyasdev. But other than Arjun and Sanjay, the demigods in the other planetary systems were seeing it. No one else on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. O all-pervading Vishnu, I can no longer maintain my equilibrium. Seeing your radiant colors fill the skies and beholding your eyes and mouths, I am afraid. See how connected he is by him to himself. He's saying that I'm afraid because whatever you're showing to me is very, imagine you have a best friend and then next moment the best friend shows a part of their personality which is very fearful. So it gives rise to from a feeling of being a friend to feeling of being fearful of that person. So that's what is happening here. He goes on to say, all the sons of Dhritarashtra, all of them, along with their allied kings and Bhishma, Drona and Karna, and all our soldiers are rushing into your mouths and their heads smashed by your fearful teeth. I see that some are being crushed between your teeth as well. So this is another reason why Arjun is shown the universal form, because Krishna wanted to encourage Arjun to fight. He's showing the future. If Arjun gave so many reasons, I'm not going to fight, because he was thinking that I'm the doer. We do the same thing. I'm the doer. So if I will not fight, there will not be any fight. But Krishna is enforcing here. That's not the case. Because if you will not fight, then anyway, these people are not going to go back home. So he's actually showing in his universal form the future of all these people assembled on the battlefield to fight, that they are going to die. Whether Arjun fights or Arjun doesn't fight, doesn't matter, because Krishna has decided it. So this is one of the reasons that Krishna wanted to encourage Arjun to fight. As the rivers flow into the sea, so all these great warriors enter your blazing mouth and perish. So they're entering and they're dying. We do that too. So after the rainfall, there is a bulb, right? There's a hot bulb in the veranda or patio of a house, and then the moths, they run towards that light. Or in the street lamp, if you travel on the street after a rainfall, the street bulbs, so many like insects go and attach themselves to the bulb, but they go in like groups of hundreds. Have you ever seen anything like that? They grow in groups like that, and then they go attach themselves to the hot bulb.
So many times.
Yes, Mataji.
Many times.
Yes, Mataji.
So they're rushing towards their own death. So something like that. All these people are actually rushing towards their own death by making a wrong decision. Death is enforced on a conditioned soul when somebody is not self-realized. I was hearing Prabhupada yesterday. He was saying that before giving up this body, become self-realized. Know who you are before you give up this body. Not somebody, not like considering yourself as somebody else has told you who you are, but really like constitutionally who you are. Then Arjun asked one question to Krishna, looking at all the things going on. Who are you? I don't recognize you. I saw Krishna as my friend, but I don't know who this is. So he's bewildered, right? His wonder is in wonder. So Krishna answers the question. The blessed Lord said, "Time I am, destroyer of the worlds, and I have come to engage all people. With the exception of you, the Pandavas, and all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain." So time factor is very powerful, right? With time, everything deteriorates. That's the nature of the material time. This is explained in third canto Srimad Bhagavatam, that the origin of time is from Darshan Chakra of Krishna. And the time deity, the deity that the demigod that controls the time factor, is actually putting everyone to death day by day. My Guru Maharaj was giving class the other day from second canto Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is explained that if somebody is not trying to become Krishna conscious in the time given to them in this life, then with every sunrise and every sunset, their life is decreasing. So between sunrise and sunset, if I don't try to become Krishna conscious, then my life energy is going slowly it's going away, and I'm going to get another material bodies. All these are subtle things which are actually which have to be accepted and then applied and then understood. Right, this is like everything that in this world looks very, very magnanimous. Actually, with time, this gets destroyed, loses its beauty. Right, there are so many kingdoms that were there. Roman Catholic kingdom, or in India, there's so many civilizations which were discovered by the archaeologists, but they all look like broken. They don't look like living anymore, right? Even though they're digging and trying to find out so many things, but all they find are the remnants, because time is so powerful, right?
Yes, Mataji.
If I
Yes,
make like a very
right.
big house today,
Right.
I know with time it's going to disappear. So much effort is put into something which is, I'm not saying we should not do that, but we should be aware of what's permanent and what's not permanent. Okay, that's called intelligence. So this kind of a discretion between what to be done and what is not to be done is the function of the intelligence. It's not the function of the mind, because mind is just there to enjoy, but what is there for ultimate good is a function of the intelligence, and one can make intelligent decisions if one is connected to the soul. Okay, and that happens only with Guru Sadhu Shastra. This is the key. If you read Bhagavad Gita, you can make material decisions also. It will not be so hard, because it does help. It does help. Or the devotees around you can also help. So he says, okay, time I am, therefore, and then all these people are going to perish anyway. Therefore, this is a very important verse. Tasmat tvam uttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhukshva rajyam samriddham mayevete nihata purvam eva nimitta matram bhavyasavya. Therefore, so tasmat means therefore, right? As I explained before, whenever a conversation begins with the word therefore, it means it is a continuation from the last conversations that they just had. Therefore, get up and prepare to fight. Tasmat tvam uttishta. Uttishta means get up. Yasho labhashva. Yash means fame. So get up and fight. After conquering your enemies, you will enjoy a flourishing kingdom. Jitva Shatrun. Shatru is the enemy. Jitva means victory over the Shatru. Bhungshva Rajyam Samriddham. Rajyam Samriddham means a flourishing kingdom, a kingdom which will be very flourishing in all aspects. Bhagavatam explains, to run a kingdom, the leader of the kingdom needs 7 things in order. Everything is given. So all those 7 things are going to be in order. So that is the definition of the word called Rajyam Samriddham, or flourishing kingdom. Okay, so therefore get up and prepare to fight. After conquering your enemies, you will enjoy a flourishing kingdom. Maya eveta nihita purvam eva. Maya eveta means by me. They're already put to death. They're already dead by my arrangements. Nimitta matram bhave savyasachin. So what is your role, Arjun? Arjun is addressed as Savyasachin here. That you just become an instrument in my hands. Everything is already done. I've already put them to death. But you just become an instrument in my hands and in the fight. Okay, so therefore get up and prepare to fight. After conquering your enemies, you will enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They're already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Savyasachin, can be but an instrument in the fight. So Arjun is shown his status, his role, that he is not the doer, he is not the decider, he is not the performer. Then what is he? The instrument. Right? For example, over here, I'm showing you a picture of a surgeon with a scalpel in the hand. So when the surgeon is doing the surgery with the scalpel, is the scalpel the deciding factor, or the surgeon decides where the scalpel goes? Who is the deciding factor where it is supposed to cut?
Obviously the surgeon.
The surgeon, or unanimously agree. Anyone in this class saying the scalpel decides where the scalpel will go?
No.
That will not be intelligent, right? So that way, Arjun has to, or we have to become something like the scalpel. Come under the shelter of Krishna, and then Krishna gives directions. Or Krishna's bona fide representative, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, they give direction in which way I should act so that I can go back to Krishna. If that is my goal of life, okay, first of all, define what is the goal of your life. One day I was talking to my friend, I think it was 2 years ago. She's a director of newborn nursery in one of the hospitals in United States. And I was asking her, so how do you write your mission statement? So we're talking about it. It's a mission statement. How do you write your mission statement for the department? She said it begins with the self. You have to write a mission statement for yourself first, and then you expand it to the project, and then you expand it to the department. So it begins with the self. And she was teaching me what are the elements that I have to consider when I'm writing a mission statement for my own self. So that way you have to write a mission statement for yourself, that what is the goal of your life? Is the goal of your life is eating, sleeping, mating, defending, and then dying? Or is there something higher? I told you one thing, right? That one of my other friends had this realization. She's a devotee, so said, okay, all day, forget about day, all life, we are running, right? We are running. We go to school, we go to college, then we look for a job, running, right? We're running from one place, and then we make friends, we get married, or we go on running. We have to, in a day, I need to stock my groceries. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, the vessels are not washed. Oh, the clothes are not washed. Oh, the bills have to be paid. So we're running. Can you relate to this? Like, we are actually running. Each one of us is going through this process, right?
Yes, Mataji.
And then, the coronavirus came. Now what? So now the running stops. So when the running stops, then that person get depressed, because that's how we are trained to run. But she was saying we are running, but we're actually running in the horizontal plane. We're actually running from place A to place B. It looks like we achieved so much in life, or we lost so much in life, whatever the case may be, but it is all on one horizontal plane. But Krishna consciousness actually helps us to rise ourselves from above this horizontal plane and look at myself from a spiritual vision, that am I made to just run around like that? Am I really made to do these things, or is there some element of spirit, something else that I have to achieve? So this particular verse should be a motivating factor, or could be. A person who is already practicing Krishna consciousness, then there should be, and people who are going to take up new, then it could be a motivating factor to write the mission statement for your own life. What do you want to do with the time that is given to you? Ultimate good, Shreya and Priya. So this is Shreya. Shreya means which is ultimate good. Priya is something like Prabhupada explains with this example that I think I've said it before, that there is a small child and the child doesn't want to go to school. What they want to do, they want to play. But their mom says, no, you can't do that. You'll waste your time. You have to go to school. So says, no, but I don't like to go to school. I have to get up early. I have to follow so many rules and regulations. So what they want is Priya. Priya means immediately, which is very brings happiness immediately, like play. That's immediate happiness. But if somebody does an austerity, like this child is asked to do the austerity of going to the school, then there is an ultimate good attached to it, right? That ultimately you will be, you can have a better life if you educate yourself and become aware. So that's Shreya, the happiness which is ultimate. So Krishna consciousness is like that. It's Shreya, ultimate happiness. And over here, the other element is that this is the best. This is the best and most secure place to be in for anybody in the entire creation. Anybody, not just humans, but demigods also, animals also, plants also. That anybody who can actually become an instrument in the hands of Krishna, that life is very fortunate. Prabhupada taught us from his example, right? He's traveling, he's writing books, he's preaching, he's building temples, or he's initiating devotees, he's going to the governments across the world. He's recognized, but he's all doing it for Krishna, because he's a messenger of Krishna, very clear about his position. If Prabhupada was asked by his disciple one time that are you God? Said, no, I'm not God. I'm the messenger of God. So does any bona fide representative of Supreme Personality of Godhead will say that. Jesus Christ said that, right? That I'm the Son of God. He didn't say I'm God. He said I'm the Son of God. So the question still remains that who is God? Or the Mohammedans also say that Allahu Akbar, God is great. They don't say I am God. They say God is great. So the question still remains, who is God? So here Krishna says, I am God. I am that God. Okay. So become an instrument. And how do we become an instrument? By in Kali Yuga, the beginning is from chanting Hare Krishna. That's first instruction. First instruction, accept the instruction. Right now we're accepting the instruction of the mind or the people around us who are teaching us how to live, how not to live, and what to do, what not to do. Put everything at rest. I'm not saying reject it, but put it at pause and try to accept something higher. And that way we become an instrument. It's a glorious life to have, and very secure, not only in this life, but also afterwards. The death is also secure, and the afterlife is also secure. So Blessed Lord said, all the great warriors, Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, Karna are already destroyed. Simply fight and you will vanquish your enemies. So you're not the doer. Sanjay said to Dhritarashtra, O king, after hearing these words from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjun trembled, fearfully offered obeisances with folded hands, and began faltering to speak as follows. O Rishikesha, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, and thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. See, we hear so many joyful things in our life, right? So many things. Each one of us can have a list of happy moments in our lives if I go across the class. But have you heard something like this? The whole world becomes joyful upon hearing your name. Like whatever happiness Krishna has given us in our own lives is limited to what I become happy, or what my family becomes happy, or what my friends, or something like that. But have you heard of something like this? The whole world becomes joyful upon hearing your name. The whole world. Yes, do you have an experience something like that?
No, Mataji.
Everyone is awake. Okay, so Krishna is like that. Okay, Krishna's name, wherever it is chanted, it becomes a auspicious place. It was supposed to be an inauspicious place, but it became the most auspicious place. There are so many examples from ISKCON. The senior devotees explain it in very nice examples. One example I'll give. So one of the Prabhupada disciple was giving class one time, and he was explaining that one time Prabhupada sent his disciples to Bangladesh, American disciples to Bangladesh to start preaching. At that time, there was war going on in Bangladesh, that whosoever is not agreeing to the method of religion which is proposed by the government, they had an order of shooting those people. It was 1970s or something. There was a war like that. So these American devotees of Prabhupada, on order of Prabhupada, went to Bangladesh to start this preaching movement, and they were caught. They were caught by the government because they were dressed in as a Vaishnava. They had the dhoti and the shirt, and then the kanthi beads, and then they had the japa mala around their neck, and then they had the tilak. So they looked like, they're very clear that they are devotees of Krishna. So they were caught, and then they were lined up. Everyone was lined up. Who else was caught, to be shot, because they were not agreeing to what the government is saying to do. So the name, I think one was Ramananda Maharaj. I don't remember the name of the other devotee, but they said the names also. Whoever can understand what I'm saying. Anyhow, we all can understand what I'm saying. So, so the soldiers were, getting ready to shoot all these people, and the devotees, they told each other that this is the moment that we have to raise our hands high in the sky and say a big Hari Bol, because we are going back to Godhead. We're so sure. They were not scared because we are going back to Godhead. This is the moment. So remember Krishna. Fix your mind on Krishna. So they both raised their hands like Hari Bol, like that. And the soldier, the leader of the soldiers became like a little confused at what's going on. So he called his senior. What are these people doing? So they were called, like, come here, like that. And then they explained that, who are you? What are you doing here? Where are you from? What is your purpose? And by mercy of Krishna, they were let go. They were not shot. So this is the if with any difficulty, just say Hare Krishna, and anything that is supposed to be most inauspicious will become most auspicious. O great one who stands above even Brahma, you are the original master. Why should they not offer their homage up to you? O limitless one, O refuge of the universe, you are the invincible source, the cause of all causes, transcendental to this material manifestation. You are the original personality of the Godhead. You are the only sanctuary of this manifested cosmic world. You know everything, and you are all that is knowable. You are above the material modes, O limitless one. This whole cosmic manifestation is pervaded by you. So nice, right? Now it says, I have in the past addressed you as, O Krishna, O Yadva, O my friend, without knowing your glories. Please forgive whatever I may have done in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times while relaxing or while lying on the same bed or eating together, sometimes alone and sometimes in front of many friends. Please excuse me for all my offenses. So this particular verse, the rasa, or the relationship between Arjuna and Krishna, changes from being friend to that being wonder, secondary. So there are 5 primary relationships that a soul has with Krishna, and then there are 7 secondary relationships. And interestingly, the 7 secondary relationships are nothing but feelings. So one of the feelings is wonder. So because he's now in wonder, he's under the influence of the feeling of wonder, he's apologizing to Krishna for being his friend in the past. After seeing this universal form, which I've never seen before, I'm gladdened, but at the same time, my mind is disturbed with fear. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal you again your form as the personality of Godhead, O Lord of Lords, O Abode of the universe. So he's requesting Krishna to wind up this universal form. Bahut ho gaya, I saw enough. O universal Lord, I wish to see you in your 4-arm form, with helmeted head and with club, wheel, conch, and lotus flower in your hands. I long to see you in that form. O best of Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine. For neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charities or similar activities can this form be seen. Only you have seen this. So Krishna is reiterating that only Arjuna has seen this universal form in so much of completeness. No one else has seen it. And now Arjuna is requesting Krishna to wind up the universal form and show him the 400 form, which is this. Your mind has been perturbed upon seeing this horrible feature of mine. So Krishna is validating that yes, this form indeed is terrible. Now let it be finished, my devotee. Be free from all disturbance. With a peaceful mind, you can see the form you desire. So Krishna in the battlefield binds up the universal form and shows the 400 form. And this is the 400 form of Narayana with the Shankha Chakra Gada Padma, right? And this form is described in Srimad Bhagavatam in many places. When Bhishma Dev in first canto Srimad Bhagavatam is going to leave his body, chapter 9, first canto, right? When Bhishma Dev is going to leave his body, he requests Krishna to show his Narayan form, and Krishna shows, and it is described by Vyasadeva from lotus feet up to the crown. Then it is again described in fourth canto where Dhruva Maharaj sees this form of Krishna. Then it is described in third canto, it is described as the Lord of the Mind, Aniruddha. There also it is described the form of Krishna. Very intricately, very detailed. The lotus feet of Krishna have these many marks. There is a tulsi petal on the lotus feet of Krishna. Then Krishna is wearing this golden anklet. Then Krishna is standing in a particular posture. Then Krishna has yellow colored dress. Then Krishna's waist has this jewelry. Krishna is wearing this garland around his neck. Krishna is wearing this necklace in his neck. Krishna is holding, what is he holding in what hand, from clockwise, anti-clockwise? Then Krishna's lips, Krishna's nose, Krishna's eyes, Krishna's forehead, Krishna's crown, Krishna's peacock feather, and Krishna's effulgence. And then people say God is energy. Such a mini knowledge where Vyasdev is describing it in so many places. 6th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, Chitraketu gets a darshan of the Lord. It is described. Lord Shiva describes the Sankarshan form of Krishna in very, very great detail. All these great devotees are describing how Krishna looks like, and we are saying Krishna is not God, is energy. Oh my God. Right? So please read Srimad Bhagavatam. Sanjay said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, while speaking thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-arm form and at last showed him his two-arm form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. So he showed everything. So you see, the sky looks little quieter, right? The paintings I showed you before, it felt like there was a storm, a hurricane in the sky with the universal form. So Krishna winds that up, shows his 400 form, and then he winds up the 400 form and then shows his 200 form, which means that in his 200 form, all the other forms are enclosed. When Arjun thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, seeing this human-like form, so very beautiful, my mind is now pacified and I am restored to my original nature. So now he's connected. He said, first he said, I'm afraid, bewildered, astonished, the hair is standing on end, but now I'm okay. Now I'm okay. The blessed Lord said, my dear Arjun, the form which you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear. So the 200 form of Krishna cannot be seen, is difficult. Krishna doesn't display that form to everyone. My dear Arjun, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So if somebody, he's saying, right, in the preceding verse, that is form of 200 form is very difficult to behold, but in 54th is giving a secret that how we can see this form. If somebody becomes curious, or it's difficult, but I still want to see it, then Krishna says, then you have to do Ananya Bhakti, and undivided devotional service. And this is the basis for tomorrow's chapter, Bhakti Yoga. Undivided devotional service. That means that the devotional service has to be only for Krishna, not divided amongst Yoga Mishra Bhakti, Karma Mishra Bhakti, Dhyana Mishra Bhakti, this Mishra. Mishra means mixture. Okay, which will be a subject matter for tomorrow. This is the verse. Bhaktyate ananya sakhya aham evam vidhu arjuna gyatrum drishtam cha tatvena praveshtam cha parantapa. My dear Arjun, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So if you want to know Krishna, then serve Krishna according to the bona fide process. Mat karma krinmat paramo mad bhakta sangha varjita nirvay sarva bhuteshu yasa mam eti pandava. My dear Arjun, one who is engaged in my pure devotional service, which is free from contamination of previous activities and from mental speculation, who is friendly to every living entity, certainly comes to me. So Krishna is telling that, and I will describe more what is this undivided devotional service tomorrow. But that undivided devotional service has to be free from the contaminations of previous activities or from mental speculation. One has to do it as it is told by the acharyas. And one has to become friendly to other living entities, all of them, not just human beings, but also animals and plants and everything. Suddenly comes to me. So how can we become friendly to another person? This was one subject matter that we had discussed long time in the temple. How can you be a good friend to other person? And the verdict was, there were so many points, but the verdict was by learning to speak their language. If you really want to be friends with someone, and you got to learn to speak their language. So what is the universal language of everyone, every single living entity, that the animals or the plants or the human beings across, is that actually they're all yearning for mellow. This Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami Prabhupada describes in the beginning of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that there is one common factor in all the living entities, and that is that everyone is looking to repose their love somewhere. Everyone is looking to serve someone. Okay, so if someone can bring somebody to Krishna consciousness or to the lotus feet of Krishna, then that person is the best friend of that living entity. Okay, so that's, you can engage everything around you in service of Krishna, and that way you become friendly to everyone. So Arjun requests Krishna to show his universal form, and I think I only said 2 reasons why Arjun requested Krishna to bring the universal form again, when he already said my illusion is dispelled. One thing we said because he wanted to set the criteria for future. If somebody comes and claims I'm God, then they have to be able to show the universal form. Other one was that Arjun wanted to glorify Krishna more. Arjun wants that Krishna should be glorified more and more. You know how he's praying to Krishna, he's glorifying Krishna, so a devotee wants to do that. Look at Krishna, how glorious he is. Then Krishna also accepts it, and he accepts because he wants to encourage Arjun to fight, because he wants to show that actually you're not the doer. These are some of the reasons. There's some other reasons also. So Lord Krishna describes his universal form first, then Arjun gets a vision of the universal form, so he sees the universal form, and after seeing, he shares his experience of the universal form, and then asks Krishna a question, who are you? And Krishna answers that question in verse 32 to 34. Kalo asmin loka kshayakrit pravardho. Time I am. And then Arjun prays to Krishna from verse 35 to 46. Sagadam bhitta bhitta pranamaya. So he's offering different prayers that we just read. And then he requests Krishna to wind up the universal form and show his 4-handed form and then the 2-handed form. And Krishna says this 2-handed form can only be seen bhaktyate ananya sakhya, by undivided devotional service. One can